Walker, and welcome to Closet Conversations. Today I want to talk to you about the most sought after, rare, highly prized fashions in the world. Now, when we think about reselling, a lot of times I think people who are new to reselling are stuck on the idea of flipping a pair of Tod's or a pair of Doc Martens. But the truth of the matter is, people have been collecting clothing and looking after finding and housing and securing and repurposing and selling the most highly sought after vintage pieces that can be found. And in that market, the prices are astronomical. And somehow I think when I think about the reselling journey that I'm on, I have this weird mix of super rare, super high-end vintage, all mixed in with the most average, common things in the world. And, you know, there's a lot of reasons that I have a mixture, mostly because the sourcing for me in Pasadena is abysmal. So I'm limited. I'm limited to where I can find product. Unlike my years when I lived in New York City, where there was just an abundance, and ironically, when I lived there, I wasn't focused on this. I had different career. I had professional jobs most of the time, but toward the end of my time there, my 16 years there, I was self-employed, and I was working as a merchandiser for a company where you go into stores like a Macy's and do work with brands that way and things like that. But that last year in New York, I really got into buying things to resell, and I don't know, I was organizing this consignment tour, which is no longer available through a company called Viable, which has gone out of business. And in that process of really learning all of the places in New York that you could buy and sell or rent the most fantastic pieces in the world, like the ones that you find in a photo shoot. If you've ever read a Vogue magazine, it says stylists own. It's always like the coolest thing in the photo shoot is the thing that's not for sale. So where does this stuff come from? Where do they get this crazy stuff, you know? It'll always be something incredibly bizarre or wonderful that they're wearing, and you'll find out it's some vintage rare piece from the 60s or the 80s or whatever. And the fact of the matter is, where this stuff comes from is from people who are oftentimes renting rather than selling. They're renting to stylists, they're renting to photographers. They're basically industry sources for people who are looking for these fantastical pieces, albeit for not necessarily to wear on the red carpet, but sometimes, but for photo shoots, video shoots, advertising spreads, you know, film. You just don't know, stage. You don't know where it's going to be purposed. And the thing is, those people who are doing that work are usually collectors who've been collecting for decades. So they have a huge supply of items, many of which they can't bear to part with, so they'll only rent them. But where they've been getting all these things is the same, it's basically what we're doing. They were sourcing for years through word of mouth, through estate sales, online, other consignment shops. You know, they've been sourcing, trolling around, looking for things the way we do to fill a different niche, a different market. And oftentimes, you know, maybe they're at auction, but they're paying more of a premium than most people would consider to get these items. But let's say, for example, you found a Vivienne Westwood Bustier and you saw somebody had it for sale for $800. You might just walk on by and think, this is just incredible. This is a ridiculous amount of money. Where someone else would look at that and go, wow, it's only $800. I'll take it. Do you have any more? And that's the person who knows that some of those bustiers can sell for, you know, $5,000, $8,000, $10,000, depending on how complicated or rare they are. And if you want to see some of that, just go to firstdibs.com. And First Dibs is a fantastic place to research brands that you come across when you have no concept of, are they rare? Are they wonderful? What are other people doing? Because it is a huge eye opener to see the prices on a site like First Dibs, which is where people are selling clothing, accessories, and furniture for a premium. Now, you might ask yourself, well, who is going to buy these things on First Dibs? They have a global clientele, many of which are not in the United States. They're all around the world. They have deep pockets and they have the ability to buy these things. So if you've got a $5,000 top or a $3,000 pair of pants or a $10,000 rare metal bustier or something crazy like that, there are plenty of people that have the resources to buy this stuff. It is not necessarily the person shopping on Poshmark or eBay. Probably a lot of these people are going through other people to find things. They're going to auctions. They're going to sites like First Dibs that didn't used to exist. And so they would have to go to physically to stores or to people that they knew carried this kind of product. But if you go on First Dibs, just search a brand like Vivienne Westwood or Moschino. Pick one like Paco Rabanne. Pick something like Christian Dior. Pick Tom Ford or pick like Yves Saint Laurent. I mean, just pick some brands that are, Alexander McQueen that you know are highly sought after, that you know are designer, but you really don't understand at what level people are willing to pay for these things. And the things that make it to First Dibs in these really high price points are things that are what you would call runway, iconic, museum quality, the rarest of the rare kind of things. But those things are out there. And if you're going to be sourcing, I think you've got to think about if you're going to up your game, if you're going to up your price point, if you're going to up level everything that you're doing, you've kind of got to learn what the people at the very top are doing. And what they're doing is they've developed a clientele, they've developed inventory that's super rare and special over time, and they're selling it at a premium. And they're not trying to do a quick flip. They're not trying to do it. They're not going to the bins and digging for something. That is not where they're sourcing. Not to say you couldn't find something there ever, but the point is they're not sourcing in that way. And so what they're doing is they're investing a lot of money, just like a piece of real estate, into a piece of clothing that they know is iconic, that they know is rare, that they know someone out there is going to understand, appreciate, and be willing to pay a premium for. Maybe put it on a red carpet, maybe put it in a photo shoot. Who knows? And I think it's a real shame that so many people are not informed about this segment of reselling, because this is reselling at its highest level. Museums buy from these people who want to put on fashion exhibits. We have sold in my consignment shop things to museum exhibits. We sold something to an exhibit that hasn't happened yet, that's being put together for Perry Ellis, and we sold something that I believe went to an exhibit, although that one I'm not too sure about, in England. And these people paid a premium price for these items, but what they paid us is probably a fraction of the ultimate value once something gets into an exhibit, once it's been highlighted as the rarest or most representative of a designer, and what that designer can, has brought to the table over all the years. And there's plenty of books out. People are shy to go into a bookstore, but walk on into the fashion section, and you will see books by Christian Dior, books for Tom Ford, for Alexander McQueen. You look at the silhouettes, Perry Ellis, Balmain, Gaultier. If you look at these designers and you study kind of the things that have been highlighted, the things that have been in photography books, the things that have been set out as the most rare and wonderful of the brands, then you will start the process of learning what the high-end part of reselling is all about. I mean, let me ask you this. Wouldn't you just love to find a pair of pants on a rack that's somebody's asking $100 for, that you can sell for couple $1,000s. Why not? Why wouldn't you? I have no problem investing hundreds of dollars in something. I once paid $1,000 for a super rare, it was hard leather, Jean-Paul Gaultier Bustier backpack. He's the one who did Madonna's famous cone bra. I mean, he's known for this Bustier style. I once paid $1,000 for one, and I knew it was worth, because it was like in perfect condition. And I think once you get into this, we're all learning that condition is everything. And so to get a premium for anything, it needs to be in great shape. So this thing was pristine. And I said, you know what? I know I can flip this. I know there's someone out here who will pay me 2 or 3 times the price. So I tried to sell it at $3,000 and ultimately sold it for $2,000. So I spent $1,000 to make $2,000. So I doubled my money. So that is something you work up to. That is not something for the faint of heart. My thing about paying a premium for items that I think I can resell is because, quite honestly, I had a lifetime and a history of paying a premium for designer clothing. So I was that person who was in a Saks Fifth Avenue or a Bergdorf Goodman or a Barney's or a Neiman Marcus. I was that person who over time, as my income grew, the amount of money I would spend on clothing grew, and I became very familiar with designer labels and designer brands. And it's something you start out. I remember when I had my first Via Spiga brand, like purse or a pair of shoes, and I just thought I was the cat's meow. And over time, like once you start getting higher and higher quality and higher level brands, it's really hard to retreat from that. And what has happened to me over the years is when I got to points where I had a lot of this luxury, and if there was fluctuation in my income and I still wanted luxury and I couldn't go out and buy it in the same way, well, I'm in the consignment shops. I'm in the Loehmann's back room that used to be around. I still had to have my quality, but I was paying a discount for it. So I'm someone who has an easy time spending a lot of money to resource something. And I really am not unhappy if something's $100 or $50 or, a couple $100, because I know I can triple, quadruple my money even at those prices. And the way I know that is because I've studied it. I've learned in this area, and I'm just getting started. I'm scratching the surface about all of this. I've actually talked to First Dibs about being with them, and they would love to have my JennieGirl inventory. Unfortunately, it is too expensive for me to participate right now. It's really cost prohibitive, and it is quite a commitment, a year commitment, and very expensive monthly fee. And then they get a very high rate of your sale, which I'm happy to do. Like, I don't have any problem paying any of that. I just don't have the budget right now. And if I did have the budget, I would already have signed the dotted line, because I know the kind of inventory they're looking for. And so, if you learn about these people who are doing this, it's a fascinating thing, because while you're out and about and while you are shopping, you're probably walking past things that in some other context would be worth, thousands and thousands of dollars, but you have absolutely no way of knowing if you haven't studied the brand. It isn't going to be on your radar. And so what I would encourage you to do is to seek out online, because you can do all this online, is to look up, go on to First Dibs, look at some of the vintage on there, sign up for their newsletter, and see the stuff that they're selling in the prices. And you will just be gobsmacked at some of this stuff. And I think that once you realize the value on some of these items, it will completely change how you think about reselling and sourcing. Because, we're out there. I'm not talking about the bins, I'm not even talking about the Goodwill, although in the Goodwill I have found super rare Vivienne Westwood dress I spent $749 for and sold for $600-700 to somebody in Germany. And I knew exactly what it was when I saw it. But that's not where I expect to find something like that. So this is for people who are interested in sourcing, not at the Goodwill and Salvation Army, but sourcing at other consignment shops. Because other consignment shops, I say other, but consignment shops in general are going to have been more curated already. They're going to have all kinds of things in there. And a lot of these consignment shops are not online. And so there's these hidden jewels in there that you can find and buy and resell. And it all depends on your knowledge is. It depends on what you know. And I would really encourage you to go to consignment shops for reselling and see what's there. Get to know the ones in your neighborhood. See who has the best stuff, the most designer stuff. And then try to learn on your own which of these designers are the ones people are after. Now, how are you going to answer the question if you're just getting started? One, we've talked about it. Go to the library, go to the bookstore, see who has been singled out highly enough to have their own book. Research online the fashion exhibits that have happened over the last several years. You will find all kinds of brands that way. See what fashion exhibits for museums are coming up in the world. Just you can Google that and you see who has been set up and set aside as something that's extraordinary. Do that and you will learn and you will see who is really at the top of their game and who is being highlighted. And so make a mental list of those brands and then just start going through a site like First Dibs. You will just be, and what you can do is when you go to First Dibs, there's a way to figure out who the seller is. And once you know it's maybe a store called, I think there's one called, I don't even know the name, but there's, they'll give you the store name, right? And so you can go look up that store online or see if you're located near where they are and just kind of, learn, see if they've got any social media presence and look at their Instagram and things like that. And it'll give you a really good idea of some of the things that are being sold. And resellers are really in a position to find this stuff because it's really like mining for gold. And the only way you're going to know if you have found gold is if you're educated. And you cannot know these brands if you haven't spent any time with it. And so there's got to be a way for people to learn very quickly about what's being sought after. And once you know that, then hey, you'll be going through a consignment shop and you're like, oh, that's a Vivian Westwood. Oh, that's a Tom Ford for YSL. That's a Galliano for Dior. So, if you know it, then you can look for it and find it, and you can be a resource because the people who are buying this stuff have bought it from me. And what's fascinating is that every time I sell something to one of these people that I know is in this business of selling this super high couture, I know it's underpriced. So every time somebody's like, yeah, I'll give you $500 for your skirt, I'm like, oh God, that means it's worth, $5,000, that kind of thing. So every time I sell one, I'm like, I'm leaving money on the table because I know they're going to quadruple the price. But if I need to sell it and I need to move it, I'll sell it to them. Fine. You can have it for $500. Go for it because they have the clientele who's going to pay a premium. And perhaps I don't have that clientele, or I would have been able to sell it at that price. And I don't even pretend to have any kind of vast clientele that's ready to spend thousands of dollars with me. I have a very small group of people who know I'm an ultra niche with what I have that's Moschino, or even not Moschino, that's super rare. And so I don't have that kind of network of some of these people do, but I am starting to focus on it. I am really starting to think about how to develop the highest end of what I have. And it's not, what I do is no different than anyone else. I know what to look for. I know where to get it. I just haven't done it, because you're talking about investing $500 in a piece or $300 in a piece. You're talking about even investing $1,000 in a piece that could bring you a lot more. So you have to be willing to do that and have the budget for that. So I have no problem doing it. Right now, I'm a little constrained financially to dig deep into that segment. But all that said, it's on my radar. It's on my radar, and it should be on yours. Because we've all, to me, there's everything that's out there. There's like a range. There's a purpose and a usefulness in every single piece that's out there already, whether it's the low end, the mid tier, or the highest end. And we're definitely doing a service for everyone in this whole planet by being willing to look for things and repurpose them and get them back on the market. But let me tell you how much fun it is to find something that you find something that's so special, and then that person who's willing to pay you a premium, who's the clothing collector who can't wait to get their hands on it, is willing to pay you that premium for what you found. There is nothing sweeter than that. It is pretty fantastic that you find that person who, because people who are paying a premium love clothes, they love design, they love fashion, and they love the fact that they've been able to find this with you, and that's sort of a lot of what's going on there. So, yeah, I just want to talk about that tonight because it's something that I'm really focused on. And I know this is more of a stream of consciousness podcast, but it's something to think about. And if you haven't been thinking about the higher end, you just need to know that this is out there. You absolutely need to know that there's levels to this. And my goal, again, is to develop the highest point of reselling, the something worth auctioning, for example, I would love to find. And I've seen some really rare stuff I've missed out on. But that's where I am. I want to upgrade everything I'm doing. Having said that, I'm not there yet. I got a ways to go, and it's going to require me to continue to finish my project of purging everything in my inventory that's not great, that's not fantastic, that's not my style, that's not my color scheme, that's not my vibe, and just get it out of there. I saw 2 Lafayette 148 blazers today, and I just about lost it. I'm like, what am I doing with these things? And then I remembered they were things I had sent to ThreadUp. Didn't sell. They sent them back to me. And I put them back up in my Poshmark store, and I'm like, this is not nice. I got to get rid of these. So there's a lot of purging and a lot of bad buys, as I would like to say, that just don't reflect where I'm headed. And because of that, believe me, I want to be that person who's selling a $5,000 bustier or a $3,000 pair of pants. That's its own reward right there, just to be able to do that. So you have to be able to find it. And guess who's going to find these things? You are and I am. Because guess what? We're out there looking for it. And that's the difference. And that's it. This is Jennie Walker with Closet Conversations. If you like what you heard today, please feel free. As a matter of fact, I would love it if you gave it a 5-star review, left me some comments, shared the link with other people who like reselling content, and subscribe. Everything like that you do really helps to push the content up in search so people can find it. And I think that matters. The more people understand what we do, the better. And that's it. I look forward to having you with me on another podcast. If you like the song you heard, it's called Black Hat, performed by Jennie Walker, written by Jennie Walker and Tommy Farragher. Available on iTunes worldwide now.